Well, this is the GTN Show, and after this weekend, Kona has got even more exciting with a rather speedy addition to that start list that we'll see in October. And off the back of that, we'll be discussing who is the most all-rounded triathlete.
Yeah, and we've also got some stories that I find quite interesting. A Dutchman who has swum 200 kilometres, and Paul Tierney who ran 318 mountainous miles in one go to break a very incredible record.
Okay, slight spoiler alert, but I'm sure most of you are already aware, but Alistair Brownlee won his first Ironman over the weekend over in Ireland in Cork. Now this automatically qualifies him for the Ironman World Championships later this year, which is very exciting. But this comes just a few weeks after him actually competing in the ITU European Championships and winning it over polar opposite distance, short course distance.
Yeah, I mean, it is quite mind-boggling that an athlete can juggle things up between distances quite so quickly. We've seen other athletes do it, but for more prolonged periods of time when they focus on a distance and then moved up to another distance and so on, more methodical manner. But we really haven't seen somebody kind of chop and change nearly as much as Alistair really feels like he's been doing this season, have we?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Jan Frodeno, for instance, he came from short course racing. He won the Olympic Games over that short course distance, stepped up to 70.3 distance, did a very good job of that, won the World Champs there, stepped up again, won the Ironman World Championships. Daniela Ryf, I guess you could say, went in similar fashion. She was very successful over the ITU distance and has stepped herself up to Ironman distance and is crushing it there. If we look at Javier Gomez, maybe he has chopped and changed a little bit more. He's done ITU racing and all the way up to 70.3 racing and Ironman racing, but he does seem to focus a little bit more on one distance at a time. It's a little bit more methodical, as you say.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we felt like he had made that bridge from short course up to long course, but then decided, actually, I want to try to go back to Tokyo. But let's not forget, Javier's won Xterra World Championship. He's also won a bunch of other World Championship titles as well. I mean, I think it's well over 5 or 6, isn't it?
Yeah.
One. So I mean, it's quite mad.
I'm a big fan of Javier. He's pretty smart with his racing. He's a very strong athlete, right?
Yeah, and let's not forget there's some other really versatile athletes out there too. Braden Curry springs to mind. Now he has made his name initially as an Xterra racer, done an awful lot of adventure racing, Xterra World Champion. He is really famous in his part of the world for winning the New Zealand Coast to Coast race, which is an adventure race that includes paddling and all sorts of other stuff that's just really quite brutal.
Yeah, and we're on the subject of athletes that are really quite diverse. We've also got Mauricio Mendes, don't forget him, because he is not only Xterra World Champion back from 2016, but he's also flipped over to middle distance racing, 70.3s, and he's won a good handful of those out there, and all whilst posting very, very impressive run splits and dropping in the old Xterra race in the middle of those.
Yeah, I've been witness to seeing just quite fast firsthand that Mauricio can run in a race, I'm afraid. But yeah, these run splits are incredible, and these athletes are just super versatile. And I suppose what's been sparked from this performance from Alistair this weekend is just the whole concept of athletes mixing things up and discussing how well-rounded some athletes are.
Yeah, I mean, that is quite a season for Alistair coming ahead. I mean, might well expect to see him doing WTS races soon. Maybe Lausanne, you never know.
World 70.3 champs, and then, given this result that he's just got at the weekend, possibly Kona.
I mean, to change around those distances so quickly and so readily is incredible, which has sort of led us on to question, is Alistair the most all-rounded triathlete out there? So we're throwing that question to you guys for the poll this week, and you can enter that just above Fraser's head. It's a simple yes or no, and if you do say no, then please do let us know who you think it is in the comment section below. But now for last week's poll, we asked you, what is the most extreme triathlon?
Yeah, so we had Israman coming in at the bottom of the pile, I suppose, which 3% of you thought so, but I'm pretty sure that's a tough race too. We then had the Otulu event coming in at 7%.
I just don't think people know how hard that event is.
No, it's pretty tough, isn't it?
But then I haven't done the others, so I can't compare.
Then we had other coming in at 14%, Ultraman, which I'm assuming is very tough, at 24%, and then the bulk of your answers came in at 50% with the X-Tri Extreme Series.
Yeah, which includes Norseman, Keltman, Patagon Man,
Swiss Man, all sorts of other man.
Yeah, they are quite tough events, I've heard. But yeah, so for those others, we had a few comments coming in. So Victoria Anderson said, Savage Man in the USA, I don't care that it's not a full distance per mile. it is tough. And we actually did think about including that in our discussion because we've heard a lot about that.
Then we had Brian Frary, who said the most difficult triathlon race is Icon Livigno Extreme, which presumably is in Italy there.
Yeah, I have heard of that one as well. Yes, and I think there were a couple of comments along those lines, so we'll take your word for it. Now, we did have one from Catherine Rosie, said, well done, Fraser. I was a support runner at Keltman this year, and that was bad enough.
Yeah, well, thanks, Catherine. Yeah, it was pretty tough out there, wasn't it? And on the note of support runners there at Keltman, Sean, who did the support for me, he'd actually 2 weeks before just done the Pyrenees, I think I've got the spelling or pronunciation right there, extreme triathlon in the Pyrenees. And he's adamant, he asked me to mention this because he said that for him, and he's done a lot of these extreme races, he felt that is by far the toughest one that he's had to do so far. Over 4,000 metres of elevation on the bike, which is mad, and more than 2,000 metres of running, which is way more than I had to tackle in Keltman. So these races just sound really, really bonkers, if you ask me.
Yeah, that's a big ouch from me.
Yeah. Now, to start our news this week, we've got a little update on Paul Tierney, who last week was running the 214 Wainwright Peaks, which is an incredible record-breaking attempt. But first, we do need to apologise for a photo that we used incorrectly in last week's show.
Yeah, we do. Now, we used a screen grab from Paul Tierney's Instagram page where he's announcing this upcoming challenge and that he was honouring the memory of Chris Sterling, who died in April, by raising money for Mind UK. Now, we did actually speak about Chris in a previous show, so we do apologise profusely for using that image. We hope you accept our apology on that.
Yeah, so Paul, who's an Innovate ambassador, completed this 318-mile epic challenge, which has 36,000 metres of ascent, which you think about that is more than 4 times up and down Mount Everest itself. Well, he completed it in 6 days, 6 hours and 5 minutes, which broke the previous record held by Steve Birkinshaw, set in 2014 by a whopping 7 hours. So absolutely incredible achievement.
Yeah, it is amazing. I'm trying to get my head around it. But I did actually see a comment by him. I'll read it out here. Paul said, the hardest bit was definitely the lack of sleep. I think I averaged just 2 hours sleep in every 24 hours.
I mean, I cannot wrap my head around that, Mark. That's just... Yeah.
Now, he's also, as he was running in memory of Chris, he's managed to raise over £25,000 for Mind UK. Now, if you are interested yourself in donating to the charity, then you can find Paul's Just Giving page and the link for that in the description just below this video.
Well, from one crazy challenge to another, and this one is actually of the swimming variety, and we were informed of this in the comment section by one of our viewers, Sandra Philo, and I'm going to read her comment for you here. And she said, suggestion for next week's episode is the Dutch long distance swimmer Martin van der Weyden, 10k Olympic gold medalist from Beijing, will try again to swim 200 kilometres non-stop this coming weekend for charity. How extreme is that?
Well, we have done our research on this very challenge. Now, Martin van der Weyden is actually a very accomplished Dutch junior swimmer from the 1990s. Unfortunately, in 2001, he was diagnosed with leukemia and then actually survived the cancer and the treatment and actually came back to compete competitively in 2003. But later in 2004, he decided to take on the IJsselmeer, which is an inland bay within the Netherlands. He decided to swim from one side to the other and try and break the record, which he did by almost 15 minutes. I think it was 4 hours, 20 and 54 seconds or something like that. In doing so, he won €50,000 and he donated all of that to cancer research.
Which is quite incredible to do. Over the period of the next few years, he'd set up a website, which is Martin van der Weyden Swims Against Cancer. So that was really his whole reason for swimming. Although at this point, he was still swimming very competitively, doing World Cups, long distance swimming all around the globe. He had an aim to become world champion, which he did at the Seville World Champs in 2008. By winning that qualified him for the Summer Olympic Games in Beijing. He went there and he won that over at the 10k open water distance. So absolutely incredible. He then actually announced his retirement later that year in 2008 on Dutch TV when he was named the Dutch Sportsperson of the Year, which just shows how sort of stead he was put in the local in that region in terms of his notoriety. Fast forward to 2018, or the end of 2018, and he decided he wanted to swim the entire 200 kilometre length. Think about that, 200 kilometres of an ice skating track. Now, don't get confused, we're not going mad. The canals network obviously freezes at times in Holland, and they're able to ice skate over the water. So that was where he was going to do his swim last August. But unfortunately, the water quality wasn't very good. He did attempt it, but he got within 40 k's of finishing it and had to stop because he got ill. But in the process of that, he raised €5 million. So fast forward to right now, and he made, which is what Sandra was explaining to us, he reattempted it. And we basically, as we're filming,
he's finishing it.
Yeah, we watched it. Now, a few other little bits and pieces, starting off with some race news. Now, Ironman 70.3 Gdynia in Poland has long been able to entice some rather big names of the sport to the northern coast of Poland for their event, the likes of Andreas Rehler, Miranda Carfrey, Tim O'Donnell. And this year, Daniela Riff, forgot about her. This year, well, that list gets even bigger because they've managed to bring along Jan Frodeno for their race on the 11th of August. So that's definitely one to look out for.
Yeah, now another bit of news, and it's a little bit different, but quite cool. The Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, has actually announced that on the 22nd of September, they're going to be closing 12 miles of roads from cars and opening up to bikes, runners, walkers, and all sort of promoting you to be more active, healthier, helping the environment, and also just trying to see the city from a different perspective.
Right, now for a little bit of tech news. And quite excitingly, Trek have launched a brand new Madone road bike called the Madone SLR6 Disc Speed with integrated aero bars. Now, these integrated aero bars can be removed apparently in as quickly as 30 seconds with just 2 bolts. What Trek have done with their new Madone is changed the faceplate of their stem, meaning that with these 2 bolts you can pop these aero bars off really quickly. So it makes it a really versatile bike for part-time triathletes, for people who want to do the odd time trial, or just ride the road bike without any tri bars added on there. So it's a really cool concept, and as with everything Trek does, adjustability is really, really well done. Everything else remains the same as you would have expected with the Madone. It's the same OCLV carbon frame sets, it's the same ISO speed adjustability you can do for adjusting your position on the bike. So really it is your standard Madone, but with the option of making it a sort of hybrid tri-bike.
Yeah, if they want to send one through so we can test out that 30 seconds to remove and install, feel free to send it to Mark Thrall for GTN. Not Fraser. Also, this last week we had a new release from Kask. It's their Ku Billy. Now, Ku is actually Kask's eyewear and sunglasses arm, see what I did, to their company. Now, the Ku Billy, which I've got just here, this little piece here, and elastic would attach to your stem or your handlebars. Now, it may look very small because all it does is actually just attach your sunglasses to. So, you can clip these in here. I've actually nabbed these from Dan Lloyd, don't tell him. So, you can attach your sunglasses in to the Billy, Ku Billy, whilst you're on a ride. So I guess if you're heading into a tunnel, take your sunglasses off, pop them on there. Or if you want to just take them off for a long period of time. Or something I thought these might be really good for is actually during a triathlon. See, when I used to race, particularly short distance racing, when I was rushing through transition and I had a helmet that I couldn't necessarily stick my sunglasses into, I actually used to tape my sunglasses to the top tube or to the stem. And then obviously once I'm out onto the bike, I'd rip that off and fiddle around and try and get the tape off and whack the sunglasses on. So now with this, I could just potentially whack the sunglasses on the stem, run out of transition, grab them, maybe not look quite as cool as this, but...
Or Dan Lloyd. But I'll raise you even further there, Mark, because as you said there, right enough, getting onto your bike, it's nice to know there's somewhere that your glasses are and you're not going to lose them. But I remember when I was racing, especially the time trial helmet, if it suddenly changed weather, and I remember a particular instance of me racing and I had to take my sunglasses off because it was just really wet and I couldn't see, but I had nowhere to put them, and I tried to put them somewhere, tuck them down my tri-suit, and of course I fumbled and lost them and they were gone, and I was really annoyed, but Ku Billy would have sorted all that.
Well, now for race news, and to kick things off, we've got Ironman Ireland in Cork, as we discussed already. Very exciting race. Now, athletes are actually pre-warned on Saturday. There may be some slight changes due to weather and conditions, and at least a slight reduction in the course. Well, come Sunday, it was a cancellation altogether for the swim due to those conditions. That meant athletes started on the bike into a run. Now, the pro athletes started off in 30-second intervals on the bike, and the age group athletes just started on the bike in over an extended period of time to reduce that congestion and issues of any drafting.
Yeah, so athletes really just have to play to the cards that are dealt to them on the day, and sometimes that can actually play in your favour. So home athlete Brian McChrystal, he's not noted for the best of swims, to be honest, so he was able to absolutely utilise his incredible biking skills, if I'm honest, and he just went to town. Obviously knew the roads, I think, being from just up the road, not far away, and he posted an incredibly fast bike split, 4:36, which I imagine on that course was absolutely blistering.
Well, some of the footage I saw of the hill they had to go up, I mean, that's fast for that course.
Yeah, there was all sorts of elevation changes and rough roads and all that sort of stuff. But to put that in context, Alistair Brownlee posted something around about 4:50, which still sounds pretty quick to me. So what that meant was Brian went out onto the run holding some 17 minutes of an advantage over the double Olympic gold medalist. Now, that's a lot of time to have to make up no matter how good a runner you are. But he came good, Alistair. I mean, he chipped away, and by 30k of the run, he had all but erased the lead that Brian had built for himself. But still, fantastic result for both of them. Alistair Brownlee taking that victory with a great 2:51 closing marathon. Brian McChrystal holding on. Unfortunately, not getting the debut Irish male Ironman victory quite yet, but still a brilliant second. And German athlete Marcus Tomsk holding on for third.
Yeah, now in the women's race, it was a smaller but very strong field. All athletes going after that solitary Kona spot for them there. Now, it was actually Anya Ipak that led the bike and into the early stage of the run, but I actually had to pull out after 10k into the run just simply due to the cold. And likewise, same issue for Lindsay Corbin, who didn't make it out of T2 due to the cold. And I assume that for both of those, they'll be refocusing their attention to Ironman Frankfurt this coming weekend to sort of make amends, I guess. Now, that really played into the hands of Switzerland athlete Emma Billum, who powered through to take the win by staggering 30 minutes over second place Pluni Huyman and third place Amanda Wendorf.
Right, now moving on to the European Ironman 70.3 Championships, which were held in Elsinore in Denmark this weekend past. And as you'd expect for a championship field, a very deep men's race indeed. Swim leader was none other than Javier Gomez. Very close behind him, within 50 seconds was the whole top 10, so close racing indeed to start the race. Now out onto the bike, it was local athlete Mikey Tagholt who established a very early lead, and he wasn't actually overhauled until quite far into the bike ride by defending champion American Rudy von Berg and German athlete Florian Angert. But von Berg was obviously feeling very good because he pushed on and he established a 90-second lead gap by the time that he got into T2 over that pair of chasers. And then another bigger chase group, including the likes of Gomez, Patrick Nielsen, Pablo de Pina, Peter Hemrich, very good athletes indeed. They were some 3 minutes behind the leader yet again. Out onto the run, and it seemed to be von Berg's race to lose, but Gomez was having nothing of it. He went into warp speed and he ate up almost all of that deficit within the first 15 kilometres, got to within 10 seconds of von Berg, and you thought, game over. But something happened to Javier and he had a little bit of a walking issue, so his gap went back out to 40 seconds. And von Berg held on very valiantly to take the victory, only by 10 seconds that might be from Javier Gomez. So great racing, but great defending championship title there for von Berg of America. And you had Javier Gomez in second, with fellow Spaniard Pablo de Pina coming third.
Well, over in the women's race, we had Holly Lawrence actually popping over to Denmark to try and almost continue her winning streak in these 70.3 regional titles. She took the Middle East title over in Bahrain in December. She took the North America title in St. George in April. And she also took the Asia Pacific title in Vietnam just a week after that. So, yeah, popping over here now to try and take the European title. And she was actually out in the lead on this swim with two others. We had Helle Fredriksson and Radka Karlefeld. Now, midway through the bike, she actually managed to break away from those other two and established quite an advantage, about 4 minutes coming into T2. And she continued on and quite comfortably almost to take that win. Now, it did seem like we'd see a battle really for second and third positions between Radka and Helle, but it's actually Fenella Langridge from Great Britain that came running through, posting a race best run split, 1:18 I believe it was, to actually take second and overhaul Radka Karlefeld, who took third.
Now moving over to North America, there was a very big Ironman 70.3 event in Mont Tremblant in Canada. Now this race definitely means a lot to the local athletes, and that was shown in the men's results with Jackson Laundrie taking the victory over multiple Ironman champion and veteran Brent McMahon in second, with American athlete Eric Lagerstrom taking out third to round out that podium. Over onto the women's side, we had multiple Ironman champion Marinda Carfrey taking the victory from Lauren Gross of America and Meredith Kessler, fellow American, rounding out that podium.
Well, this weekend we also had ITU Antwerp World Cup. Now in the men's race it was won by Taylor Reid. In second we had Gabriel Sandor, and in third we had Diego Moya. Whilst over in the women's race it was won by Elisa Tersch, in second Laura Lindemann, and in third Ainsley Thorpe.
Right then, so we're now at the point where it is caption competition time. And we've got a really good picture that came in that we talked about last week from Luxembourg 70.3. And, well, this is just somebody getting really, really zen and in the moment before race start, isn't it?
Yeah. Very calm in the panic and the madness that's going on around it, almost oblivious to it all. I had some great captions come in. Wade Whitboy said, when you still haven't pooped before the race start. I have to say, I do have I mean, this is very crude, but I do have a minimum of 3 that I have to have before a race starts.
3?
So, yeah, so if I haven't had that, I do go into like a mild panic, which probably doesn't help the situation. Anyway, moving on.
Chris Debonair has said, maybe if I keep really still, the swim won't see me.
Very good.
That is good, I like that.
But the winner this week goes to Bill Gunn Bassandorge.
Well done.
I hope I got that right anyway. You said, trying to visualise and track every move to remember where I left my goggles, which I love.
They're right there.
They're right round your neck. But yeah, fantastic. You are the winner of the Caption Comp. So yeah, caps coming your way. Just get in touch over Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Get that out to you.
So for this week's Caption Competition, we've got a rather good picture here. This is quite funny, isn't it? We've got a little bit of a head-on collision happening here, haven't we?
Yeah,
well,
this is from Elsinore. So, I mean, some of the photos from Elsinore looked amazing.
Oh, need to go back and start racing again.
Yeah, it did look fantastic. But this is great. It seems like the photographer had some great fun on this particular photo because there's a few that seem to pop up in their little gallery. But yeah, I mean, fantastic as the athletes obviously crossing direction. But yeah, we'd love to hear your captions. Drop them in the comment section below. Well, now we're going to take a look through all the photos that you sent in to us, and we've got some fun ones this week.
Yeah, this is, man after my own heart, a very good hack for keeping your shoes nice and level when you're in transition. I always used to like to do this, but I never managed to take it to this level. I just managed to figure out a safety pin in the back of my shoe or something if I didn't have a loop. But Stefano has really gone. He's drilled some holes here to put in a zip tie into the back of his shoe because it didn't have a loop for his elastic band. But a real problem there because he's got a bolt-through axle for a disc brake bike. Well, he doesn't have a skewer either to put the other end of the elastic round. So, fear not, put a zip tie around your chainstay. Oh, not chainstay, brake stay there. Brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, very good. Really cool hack. Yeah, really good. Got another one, another Stefano here actually. This is a Giant Trinity in Laveur in Italy. And this is their first, well, they say their medium triathlon. I'm guessing a middle distance triathlon. Pain on the run, but really happy. And that is a very nice setup and a very nice transition area, I must say.
I know, on the AstroTurf. Very good.
Next one from Yannick, and this is in Germany. They're doing a middle distance triathlon. Now, they did send us a long race report. In short, basically a little bit underprepared, a little bit chilled before the race starts. Didn't have a wetsuit, 2 minutes late for the start, jumped into freezing cold waters, and although they were quite warm when they first got in, they really suffered from the cold towards the end and struggled to pull their hat off, as you can see here.
I mean, that's a pretty good bit of artwork almost that you managed to make with your cap. So glad your friend was able to capture it. Brilliant.
Yeah.
So following on with cap issues, we've got another picture here, which is from Sterling, who was at the British University Sprint Champs recently in Wales. And he says, just before the swim start, my goggles broke, didn't care how I looked, just left it in there as I was panicking to fix my goggles. But his goggles weren't his only problem, were they?
No, I mean, his cap, I'm not sure what has gone on with his cap.
It's like, it's just...
As he says, he didn't care how he looked, he just left it there and got on with sorting the goggles, which he did do and managed to fix them before the start. So, yeah, I mean, yeah. Just got to do what you got to do, haven't you, sometimes?
Get through it.
Finally, we thought we'd finish off this one because this is pretty cool. This is from Breeze. This is Canyon Speedmax CF SLX 8.0. This is before the Subic Bay triathlon in the Philippines. And, I mean...
An absolute stunner, isn't it?
Do we need to say much more?
No, I mean, and Breeze has managed to qualify for World Championships in Nice with this result at the weekend there. So
yeah, amazing. He's got like lovely tan sidewalls on the wheels, which I always love. 51 Speed Shop aero bars, but also a really nice touch that I noticed was behind the Elite Chrono aero bottle on the down tube. He's actually made a bit of an aero hack there, so he's filled that space that would otherwise be there with what looks like a homemade aero bodge hack thing.
Sits in there really nicely to fit the frame, doesn't it?
Very nice. So love to hear more about that actually, Bruce. So do get in touch in the comment section below. I might have to steal that idea myself.
For a Norseman.
Well, that's it for the show this week. We hope you enjoyed it. Next week, we'll actually be coming from Frankfurt as we're heading out to Ironman Frankfurt to bring you loads more videos from there. So we'll be bringing the show from there, and then Fraser will be then heading on to Challenge Rods.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy old week. Lots of German videos and activities in between, but really can't wait. Both amazing races. Lucky enough to have done both of them once each when I was racing and loved them. So can't wait for that.
Yeah, and if you are out there, then do please come up and say hi to us. We'd love to meet you all. And if you did like today's show, please do hit that thumbs up button. And if you'd like to see all our other videos on GTN, don't forget you can just click on the globe, subscribe to the channel and be notified when those videos come live. And do not forget, we also have a GTN shop, so you can get hold of all our GTN stash, our t-shirts, our running kit, also our swimming gear that is coming very soon. I know I keep saying that, but it will be coming soon. Just head on over to that by hitting the shop icon there.
And if you want to see a video that Mark did at Challenge Samarin a few weeks ago about mounting and dismounting transitions, very funny, he does a very good job, then you can find that here.
Yeah, and if you'd like to see our Challenge Athletes video that came out over the weekend, which is absolutely fascinating about para-triathletes and people from the military that, well, this chap in particular lost his leg and is really nailing it in triathlon, you see that by clicking down here.